everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Today I'm going to show you how to create this sunburst background in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to show you how my 4th of July layout came together. Let's go ahead and head into Cricut Design Space. To start this project, I'm going to insert a template. I'm going to insert a 12 by 12 basic canvas template just so that I can create the size of the sunburst background that I need for my layout. Now, templates are temporary. This will not save with your project. It's simply for reference only. It's not going to cut out, but it does help you visualize your project. All right, so now that we have the template on our canvas, we're going to go grab that sunburst image. I know that this is in my art booking collection, so I've gone into image sets and I'm going to search for art booking. Now that I found the collection, I'm just going to click on that digital collection and I'm going to search for sunburst. This is going to show me a couple of different sunburst overlay options. There are actually 4 here that you could use. I'm going to be using the one that is there in the lower right hand corner, but as you can see, there are 3 more there that you could use instead if you would prefer those. All right, I'm going to insert this sunburst into my canvas. And as you can see, it's only a partial sunburst. We're going to turn this into an 11.5 inch wide sunburst to go all the way across our page. So the first thing I need to do is rotate this so that it's at 270 degrees. So now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this image. I'm going to flip the second image, and then I'm going to line up the 2 images so that they meet in the center. Once I have them touching, I'm going to go ahead and align them at the bottom or align them at the top, so that I know that they are nice and straight along the bottom of the 2 images, and then I'm going to weld them together. Now, as you can see, there's a funny little humpy hill there in the center, but it's okay. We're going to hide it with a circle later, so don't worry about it. Okay, so now I need to size this image to fit onto my layout. So I am going to create the width, the maximum width that I can, which is 11.5, and then my height is going to be 6.5. All right, so our next step here is to create all the little ray cutouts. So we could just cut this out 3 times and have all of the rays and all of the images cut out together. But I'm going to show you how to use the contour tool to cut out the rays out of the specific colors of patterned paper. So I'm starting out by duplicating each of the images. So I have 3 images here. One is going to be my background. The other 2 are going to be the different color of rays. I'm going to select one of those background images. Then I'm going to select contour, and I'm going to click on the images that I want to remove. The contours or cuts that I don't want to cut out are going to turn a pale gray color. You're also going to see that they're highlighted there over on the right side. So that right there is my set of red rays. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other background layer that I created. I'm just going to remove the opposite rays, and this is going to be the ones that are cut out of my blue patterned paper. So you're going to be able to see here as I drag them over, they fit perfectly within that background piece. And now I can cut out the rays and that background sheet from all the patterned papers in my stars and sparklers set. The last thing we're going to do is add that little circle in the center to kind of hide that weird little hump. This is also going to be cut out of that tan pattern paper. And now all I have to do is save this project and go cut it out on my machine. All right, let me show you how this layout is going to come together using this Cricut cut and items from the Stars and Sparklers collection. Here I have a photo of my children when they were younger. We were celebrating 4th of July at Grandma's house. As you can see here, I have already cut out all of the items that I need from that Stars and Sparklers collection. We have that background and that partial circle. You could use the blue side if you wanted to. I'm going to be using the tan side. I'm going to be backing the entire layout in white cardstock and sapphire cardstock. The first thing I'm going to do is gut out that sapphire cardstock just so I don't waste a bunch of extra cardstock that I could use later on a project. And then I'm going to place down that white daisy cardstock right in the center of the sapphire. Framing my layout in both the sapphire and the white daisy are going to help anchor my layout. That sunburst is full of all sorts of busy patterns, so I need some sort of frame to help to bring your eye to the center of the page, because the photo itself is also going to be matted in the sapphire and white daisy cardstocks. The sunburst pattern that we created using our Cricut is going to be glued down onto the top of the page using some liquid adhesive. I like using this Tumbo glue because it doesn't dry right away. I have some time to kind of wiggle around that sunburst to make sure that it's centered before it fully dries. On the bottom half of the page, I chose to use that distressed sapphire star pattern. This is going to help ground the layout, and it's also going to match some of the clothing that my children are wearing. Now I realize that I cut it a little bit too big, so I need to trim it down just a smidge, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to the bottom half of the layout, making sure that I still have the white frame around the sides and the bottom. Between that sunburst and the star pattern, I've chosen to use this zip strip or product strip in the red plaid. This adds a fun little element to the page, and it's a great divider. Now you can see there I'm doing a wonderful job at measuring with my fingernail before I cut it. Sometimes I don't even grab a ruler or a pencil. I just rub my little fingernail along the edge and then cut right where that indentation is. I'm also going to glue down all of the little sun rays. Now, if you want more of a distressed look, you could ink all of the edges of these sun rays. I did that on my military Memorial Day cards, and it turned out beautifully. I love the way that distressing looks. On this layout, I decided to just keep them as is and glue them down all around that sun ray. Off camera, I added some stitching to this layout. Across the top, I used a red thread to coordinate with the red plaid zip strip across the middle. And then on that red zip strip, I added some tan zigzags to coordinate with that craft colored background around the sunburst. I'm going to be placing my photo in the center of that sunburst. When I originally planned this layout, I placed the photo in the lower right-hand corner of the page, but I realized that the design of that sunburst actually draws your eye to the center, which is the perfect spot for that focal point photo. I'm using both mix-in papers and the Stars and Sparklers pocket cards to create mats around my photo. Now I am adding a little bit of distressing on those cards and the paper just using some toffee ink. I probably should have distressed those sun rays, but you know what? I actually think it turned out just fine not having the distressing on the rays and only having it on the photo mats. The photo has been matted in sapphire and white to mimic the frame around the entire layout. Now forgive me for the glare here. I ended up popping on my overhead light, not realizing that you couldn't see the photo anymore. Underneath those photo mats, I've added this lace die cut that I cut out of sapphire. It kind of reminds me of those buntings that you hang out on the 4th of July, and it just helps to kind of ground those photo mats. I chose to keep the title very simple on this layout. It simply says 4th. This was an SVG image that I downloaded and uploaded into Cricut Design Space, and I cut it out along with all of those little glitter and sapphire stars that I'm going to be layering onto the page. I have put a link to the SVG image along with all of the other supplies that I'm using today in the description below. Right now, I'm grabbing different images from the sticker sheet and from Cricut cuts that I've cut out, and I'm just creating some embellishment clusters on the left and right side of the photo. I'm still learning how to balance embellishments, so it took me a little bit of time to get all of these items down onto the page. That sunburst background reminds me of a firework, so I stuck with those firework elements as I added to the clusters. I also added those little sunglasses to mimic the sunglasses that my kids are wearing in the photo. This layered flag design was cut out from one of the pocket cards. I love the way these little flags and tags look together, and I thought it would be a perfect little addition to the page. I chose to cut out a few white stars from glitter paper. I needed some more white elements on the page, and I'm also trying to form a visual triangle with the 4 in the title. So by adding some of these little white stars, it helps to balance out all of those bold colors in the layout. Now you're going to see me moving some elements around here on the page, trying to create balance. A lot of the items on that sticker sheet have the same colors. They have some sapphire, and they have that pale blue color, and they have the reds and the whites. And so I was trying to balance out all of those elements around my photo. When I got to the little sentiments for the page, instead of just putting them straight across the page, I decided to make them also look like fireworks. So they kind of look like they are bursting out behind that large firework on the right side of the page. Behind the large number 4, I'm adding a striped star sticker. The red in the sticker is going to help that title pop up off the page, and it's also going to form a visual triangle with all of the other red elements I've been adding. So at this point, I've spent about an hour trying to figure out the embellishment clusters around this photo, and I've decided, you know what? It's just time to get everything down onto the page. So I went and grabbed both some thin and thick foam tape, and I'm going to create some different levels within those clusters of embellishments. After I was done attaching all the embellishment clusters, I decided to add a couple of little tiny stars onto the page. The Stars and Sparklers sticker sheet is full of all sorts of star stickers in all of those colors you see there on my page. The photo I'm using on this layout was taken back in 2002. Every 4th of July, our family celebrated great-grandma's birthday. She was considered the firecracker of the family. This year, our kids were gifted with all sorts of fun red, white, and blue items. Sunglasses and paddle balls and little leis, all things they could wear for the birthday party and the 4th of July. And when this photo was taken, they were just hamming it up with all of those red, white, and blue items. To emphasize the title a little bit more, I decided to add the sticker below it that says, "Love This Land." I also decided to add a couple of other elements to the page. I found this funny little sticker that says "Y'all crazy," and since it was in a wood color, I decided to add some wood elements to the page. So I found a couple of wooden stars and a little wooden arrow that I placed there down by the title. Those natural wood elements not only match the craft color in the background, but they also help to tone down a few of the colors on the page. I love the textural element that thread brings to a page. That's why most of my projects have stitching. I also love to add thread bundles to my designs. And on this one, I decided to grab some of that red thread I used at the top of the page and create some fun little clusters around all of my sticker elements. At the base of the page, I added my journaling. I typed this up on the computer and then I printed it off on some craft cardstock. I cut a little chevron on the end and then I placed it down below the photo. All right, so here is the completed layout. We have that beautiful sunburst that we created in the Cricut and all of the fun stars and sparklers elements that were added to the page. Now, if you enjoyed learning how to use your Cricut machine, I would like to add that I do teach weekly Cricut classes online. Each week, I teach an hour-long live class, which is recorded and posted onto a classroom website. I would love for you to join my Cricut classroom. Thank you again for joining me today as we created this 4th of July sunburst layout. I hope that this project inspired you to try something new and that you learned a few new tips and tricks along the way. If you would like to see any of my past scrapbooking pages, you can go ahead and click on that collection icon above. While you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials. I've also added a link to some of my other Cricut tutorials for those of you who wish to learn more about your Cricut machine. I hope you have a wonderful week. I can't wait to see what you create.